There's no doubt that Subnautica is a dangerous game. In recognition of this, the developers put a threat meter indicating how dangerous or life-threatening these creatures are or can possibly be. Today I shall be ranking all harmful creatures in Subnautica by that meter. Now I'm not saying this list is completely inaccurate, but some choices are questionable at best, and the scariest one may be shocking. For example, the first creature I'm putting on this list has a lower threat level than a bladderfish, but can still deal a good amount of damage. The creature known as floaters, or the most annoying little shit, sometimes deal 5 damage when released, but can deal an incredible amount of damage when floating at the surface. Anyway, you'll never guess this next creature, it's the alien robot. Some of you have probably never encountered these pesky guys, but since they're only second in this list, it's really not much to worry about. They only deal 3 damage. Once again, you'll never guess this next one, it's the tiger plant. These plants, though immobile, can pack a punch, attacking anything that moves with a small projectile every second, dealing 10 damage. So stay mobile around it, or it can be lethal. Next, we have the cave crawler, who is actually very similar to the alien robot. They have the same size and speed, but are more dangerous, dealing 5 damage and being way more aggressive. The problem with these guys is that they're only found on land, making them very avoidable. The next creature has the exact same threat level as the cave crawler, and it's the gasopod. Now, I decided to put the gasopod after the cave crawler because its attack is more lethal, and frankly, I've actually died to these guys before. Now, they don't have a specific damage amount, just know that it's a lot if you get caught in the middle of the gas. Next, we have the bleeder. Still on the very weak side, these parasites attach to the player's arm, dealing 5 damage every second until it's eventually whacked off. These guys are pretty rare and are easily killed, so nothing to worry about really. Surprisingly, here is where we have our first Leviathan, the Sea Treader, which now that I think about it, I have no idea why it's called a Leviathan. Though the threat meter says it's a rather dangerous creature, I spent 15 minutes trying to get it to attack, but to no avail. They have 2 attacks, a kick and a stomp, dealing 40 damage each. They're fairly uncommon, very slow, and they're the only defensive Leviathan in the game, making them a good company to have in the deep blue sea. Next we have the Stalker. These creatures have a single bite attack dealing 20 damage, and are aggressive and agile in nature. They can be a threat to new players, but rarely are the cause of death. Next, approaching the medium threat level, we have the Mesmer. These aggressive creatures are pretty uncommon and are fairly easy to escape and avoid, but if the player gets too close during the hypnotizing sequence, it deals 30 damage, leaving the player with a bit of an ouchie, and a good scare for new players. This next creature has the same threat level as the Mesmer, and that creature is the Biter. I decided to put the Biter after the Mesmer because the Biter is so much more aggressive, common, and harder to escape. Each bite from these piranha-like fish deals 7 damage, so if surrounded by 3 or 4 of them, it could stack up and multiply very quickly. So slightly more dangerous than them, we have the Sand Shark. These chromosomy fish can be scary when appearing from below the sand or just being out in the open. They're still pretty terrifying. No matter how funny they look, don't underestimate these guys, since their bite deals 30 damage and their aggressive nature can startle the player. Next up, we have the Crash Fish. These creatures are probably the first massive threat that the player encounters in a new game, since they're found really close to the life pod. They deal an unspecified amount of damage, but if you stay immobile, they can deal a lot of damage. Not only the player's health, but also their oxygen. So I completely disagree with the next 4, so get ready, this won't make much sense. Now we have the Ampiel. These large, aggressive, and very dangerous creatures are fairly common and can be devastating if the player isn't paying attention. They have 2 attacks, a shock that deals 15 damage and a bite that deals 45 damage. These attacks can be simultaneous, making a lethal 60 damage attack, not to mention their speed and agility, making them a real threat to the player. Next on this very accurate list, we have the Blood Crawler. At about half the threat level, these small, slow, and very insignificant creatures may have an intimidating physical appearance, however, their bite couldn't be weaker, at 5 damage, making this guy a very small problem. Next, we have the Bone Shark, a very common threat among Seamoth users. These aggressive sharks are quick, agile, and do a decent amount of damage, at 30 damage a bite. The biggest problem with this enemy is the quantity of them, as there are usually multiple sharks leading to multiple bites. Then we have Blighters as we approach the orange threat level. These small creatures are weaker than their biter counterparts because they're blinder and slower, but deal the same damage at 7 per bite. Yes, these guys are apparently more threatening than the Ampiel. Anyway, up next we have the Crab Snake. These serpent-like creatures are aggressive and territorial towards the player and the piloting vehicle. Their size and form make them quick and dangerous, dealing 35 damage with their bite while simultaneously immobilizing the player. They can also come out of nowhere since that entire zone is buggy as hell. Next, approaching the red threat level zone, we have the Crab Squid. These massive creatures with a spider-esque body have proven to be a massive threat towards a player, being found in multiple deep locations. They are not only fast, aggressive, and light orientated, but have a 40 damage bite and emit an EMP blast, disabling all electronics in a horizontal zone, allowing for an easy kill. Then we have the Lava Lizard. These creatures are only found in the lowest places of the planet, making them pretty rare. They're fast, aggressive, but unfortunately for that stage of the game they don't do nearly enough damage at only 30 a bite. Next we have the River Prowler. These creatures show very similar characteristics to the Lava Lizard, like size, speed, damage, and aggression, with the only clear difference is that they're located in a different zone. Okay, now we have the heavy hitters as we enter our top 4 in the red threat zone. In 4th spot we have the Ghost Leviathan Juvenile, who for some reason has the same danger level as the regular Ghost Leviathan. This creature creature, though still an infant, is incredibly quick and aggressive, dealing 55 damage to the player and being an absolute nightmare to the Cyclops. Next in our third spot, we have the regular Ghost Leviathan. Now take a look at this. To decipher which Leviathan was more dangerous, I had to use video editing software and zoom into the graph because the quality of the Reaper Leviathan shark for some reason was much worse than the Ghost Leviathan. Anyway, but looking at this graph for a good 10 minutes, I came to my decision. The adult Ghost Leviathan is pretty rare and are easily avoided, but when encountered, it may be the last thing you'll ever see. These Leviathans are very quick, aggressive, and extremely damaging, dealing 85 damage per bite. In our second spot, we have the Reaper Leviathan, probably the most feared creature on this planet. They are extremely quick, incredibly aggressive, and very damaging at 80 damage a bite. They are attracted to sound and have metal-piercing mandibles, making vehicles a very big and vulnerable target. In our number one spot, we have the Sea Dragon Leviathan. But wait, you may have noticed that I've missed a creature. I haven't yet mentioned the infamous Warper, and this is why. Now, I could have put this in the most dangerous or the least dangerous since it has no specific threat level, but nowhere seemed right for this creature, so we shall ignore its existence for the remainder of this video. So back to this thing. You may have guessed at the start, but yes, of course, it's this guy. Not only is he extremely quick, aggressive, gigantic, and damaging, he has multiple different attacks. Firstly, his range attack, a fireball that deals 80 damage. Then a melee attack using his arms, dealing 70 damage, and of course his bite, that deals 100 damage, resulting in instant death. Though there only exists 3 of these guys at very low depths, it can be an absolute menace to any player or vehicle. Yes, these creatures are very dangerous, but I managed to make them look incredibly goofy when I made them in Minecraft build battles. It would be like here. If not, let me know how dreadful this list was in the comments, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!